Good evening everyone, hope you're all well. First thing we're going to do is do a sound check. Make sure you guys can hear me, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Come on, let's see who can hear me. Can you all hear me? Yeah, perfect, awesome. Good evening everyone, welcome to the Monday Night Live. For all my Patreon members, you guys know the score. Make sure you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff. For those who aren't a member of the Patreon, this is something I do pretty much every week with all the Patreon members. We do a live, we discuss about the week, what's going on, what's been going on in the world of the hobby or in the community, and certainly just discuss things and talk things in depth. So I wanted to reach out and do one on YouTube because I haven't done a live with YouTube for quite a while. So I wanted to get you guys all in and mingle with all the Patreon members. And first of all, I just want to say thanks for everyone for tuning in, and I'm going to go and welcome everyone in as quick as possible. So we've got J&M Royals, we've got MJ Designs, we've got Mags Morphs, ST Royals, Zoe, Twisted, Ewing, Vivid Skin, Phil, Morph Matrix, DJ Pythons, Lindsay, Wardsy, Jason, Marvelous Balls, Pez Pythons, Northern Exotics, Elite Exotics, Twisted Royals, Jason Washington. Good evening, Jason. Alice. We've got Northern Exotics. I've said I've said all you guys. Who else? Luke. We've got Luke. Randall. We've got Kerry. We've got Ross McKee. Good evening, Ross. Welcome. We've got Michael over at Excite Ball Pythons. We've got the 4 S's. We've got Simon. Oh man, we got everyone. Phil Lawrence. I think I've said Phil. Malcolm. Good evening, Malcolm. We got Chris. Andy Barton. Good evening, Andy. Generation Serpents so far. So good evening everyone, hope you're all well. Welcome to the Balls to You show. No, I'm only joking. First thing I want to do is get you guys to check out my new t-shirt, courtesy of Mel over at Mel and Andy over at MJ Designs. Andy designed it, Mel printed it, so I've got to give them both props. This is Hellboy. Those who know. So this is Hellboy. He was a CB16, obviously Aussie produced him, and we've got the Balls to You logo, and then we've got the Hellboy writing, and what's also awesome, the back. Hopefully you got that. So yeah, absolutely awesome t-shirt. Mad props to MJ Designs. If you're not following MJ, get over and give MJ a follow. Mel and Andy have currently taken over my merchandise, thank God. Massive props to them, and my sticker swaps. So if you are interested in sticker swaps, not just at the moment because Mel's not too good, she's got a trapped nerve, but we're going to be doing, Andy and Mel are going to be sending them out for me, so thanks a lot. Right, a couple of more shout outs. Wolfie's Royals is doing some raffle for a really good cause. If you're not following Wolfie's Royals, get over and give him a follow. It's for people with mental health. So I've donated some stuff, and a lot of people have also donated some stuff. So get over there and give him a follow. The other thing I wanted to discuss and just say is US Ark. For those who know, obviously everything that's kicking off in the States regarding the legislations, it's important that even we in the UK and in Europe get behind US Ark, because effectively what can happen over there could happen over here and in Europe. If our governments see that something is working in another country, they will try and implement it over here. So let's please all get behind US Ark, donate, or even if you can't donate, just help. They do ask if you can write letters, sign petitions, all that sort of stuff. It's all on their website. Get over there, support US Ark. That's the one thing I want to touch on. The one thing, tonight's going to be a Q&A. Okay, nothing too crazy. We'll probably be on here about an hour and a half. I'm not going to keep you too long, but it's going to be a Q&A that's open to everyone on YouTube, as well as obviously the Patreon guys. So we're going to discuss things, and if you guys do drop comments in the comment boxes or questions, obviously I will try and get on there and scroll back and have a look. But yeah, the t-shirt's not slacking on the back, is it, Richie? So I want to give a massive shout out to my little brother, and I call him my little brother. Well, he calls me his big brother. Alan, over at No Limit Morphs, has had this made for me, for the HQ. How awesome is that? That was my belated Christmas present from Alan. If you're not following Alan on Instagram, get over there, show him some love. No Limit Morphs, fantastic guy. He was an apprentice of mine, but an absolutely awesome guy. Amazing. Get over there and give him a follow, and yeah, he's an absolute top guy. So the other thing I want to touch on, if you're not on my Morph Market, for those who are interested, just make sure if you're not following me on Morph Market, I get asked a lot of questions regarding what I've got coming and what I've got for sale. On Morph Market, you've got a little click and a link. You can click follow. It will send you notifications the minute I upload something on Morph Market. I do get people ask me to put the name on a list, but it's a first come first serve basis, so just make sure you drop your name, drop me a follow on Morph Market. Before we get into the Q&A, I want to say one thing that I've been talking about for years and years and years, and I've been, back in the day, it used to be one male to every 3 females. So it tends to be, you know, everyone used to say, get your females, you know, more females, have a few males. Miguel just dropped a video, and this is interesting because, again, it's something I talk about, and a lot of breeders don't really talk about, and that's backup males. Backup males is so important for your breeding projects, like you wouldn't believe. And sometimes we tend to keep a visual male because we think that's the most powerfulest. And what the other side of this coin is, not always will a male breed with a female. And again, I've spoke about this in many of my videos years ago. I talk about compatibility. Compatibility is a real thing within ball pythons, and we've seen it in other species, but we don't tend to see it so much in ball pythons, or at least it's not discussed or it's not known. And the reason for this is because with certain species of snakes, especially stuff like king cobras, anacondas, king snakes, if they're not suited, then they will end up eating the other partner. And I'm not saying ball pythons are going to start eating each other, but compatibility with those species is so vital and important, and we tend to forget that with ball pythons. So Miguel had an issue. If you haven't watched his video, get over there and watch his latest video. He talks about the backup males, and that his original breeder male had 13 or 12 females lined up for him, and he's only locking to 3. That's the reality. I always try and work on 1 male to 3 females or 2 females. Occasionally I'll have a male which will breed anything and breed hose pipes if you let him. But ultimately you want to be working on 1 or 2 males per project, or 1 male to every 2 or 3 females. That's going to give you some awesome backup males, just in case you have a compatibility issue, or the male just doesn't want to breed or stops breeding. At least you've got a backup male. It is important, and it's something that a lot of people skim over. So I just wanted to touch base with that. The other thing is, I posted on my Patreon that I've started using Husbandry Pro. I've been in talks with Billy and Robert. Robert's one of the developers over at Husbandry Pro, and I'm currently well, I've sent over some information, and they're working on a process where hopefully, fingers crossed, if you are on Reptile Scan, you can export from Reptile Scan and import your data directly into Husbandry Pro, which I know a lot of you are using Reptile Scan, and it'll be absolutely awesome if we can do that and just press up a button, swap all the data over, and it can start to marry up. So I've sent over my data. Robert is currently working on that with a few other guys, trying to get that all lined up, and hopefully there's going to be a transfer, or it's going to be made easier between transferring the information from Reptile Scan over to Husbandry Pro. I'm liking Husbandry Pro. It can be as in-depth or as easy as you want it. And again, I'll be sharing my thoughts in other videos, in future videos to come on that. But I am using Husbandry Pro at the moment. Before we get into questions, I can see all the chat going off. So I just want to skim up over the chats and just see what's cracking. Yeah, we've all got brilliant. Hi, doing some amazing charity, definitely worth it. Yeah, definitely. Quick question, Jasmine Vlogs. Need your advice. I have 4 bulls and 3 adults haven't ate in 5 months. They ain't losing weight. I've checked everything and drinking fine. What would you do? Couple of things, Jasmine, what we need to know regarding your ball pythons, and it might be worth just DMing me on Instagram, the age of the animals and their living conditions, i.e. how you've got them set up. DM me and we can have a look at that, and I can try and steer you in the right direction. But normally you want to be looking at this time of year. Some adults, and I know you've said that they are adults, but some adults will go off food. I know they haven't eaten, according to your message, for 5 months, but if we look backwards, so we're coming into the 3rd month of the year, if they stopped eating in October of last year, that's normally when breeding season starts. So the question is, have you been breeding them, or are you not breeding them? If you're not breeding them, the chances are the reason why they are off food is simply because it's breeding season. So what will tend to happen is a female may go off food, and I'm going to touch on a little bit of something and share a little bit of information with you guys. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a female which went off food for about 9 months. She hit that 1,000 gram mark, that yearling mark, and she just went off food. Couldn't fathom it out, didn't know what was what. Then all of a sudden she went back on food. What I'm starting to collect data for is what I'm finding is that wall, that 1,000 gram wall and that yearling wall, is when a female is changing her hormones. So in other words, she's going into her breeding cycle. Now, captive bred or captive breeding, what we tend to do, we breed a female at 2 to 3 years of age and around about 15 grams going upwards, 1,500 grams going upwards. But if you think about it in the wild, they don't walk around with scales. They don't walk around with a calendar saying, oh, this is my birthday and this is how much I weigh. They actually do whatever they need to do. Okay, so in other words, if they want to go looking for a male, they'll go looking for a male, or vice versa, the male will go looking for them. And sometimes what can happen is the only thing that's on their mind is finding a male. Now, they've probably got enough fat reserves, which is why they're not losing weight, but they've probably got enough fat reserves to help them sustain searching for that male. So what I've been doing, and this is something that I don't want you guys to do because I want to get the data nailed down, is when they do hit that 1,000 gram mark, and if they do hit that wall, or when they have hit that wall, I've been introducing a male and they've locked. Now, I don't expect any eggs, I don't want no eggs, and everyone that did hit that 1,000 gram mark has actually gone back onto food straight away. I didn't carry on breeding them, I just gave them one lock, they locked, and they started nailing the food. What I did from there was I then monitored the female, because if you think about it, by the time she goes on to let's say develop building follicles, it could be 6 to 8 months down the line. So 6 to 8 months down the line, she's now not a yearling, or a years of age, she's actually 18 months. And the chances are she's probably close. She's probably got another 800 grams on her by then. So what I would tend to find is I've done that for a few years now with the females that have hit the 1,000 gram wall, and they've gone straight back onto food. I don't want you guys to do that, because it's not something I want to advocate and saying, oh yeah, let's breed our females at a year of age. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm actually saying is, think about what they would do in the wild. It doesn't make sense if a male ball python is sexually mature at a year of age. Why would a female take 2 years? There's not another species like that in the world, in the wild, where both sexes take different times to become sexually mature. They all mature at the same time. So it kind of makes sense that the males and the females mature at the same time. Hence why the female at a year of age, probably around about 1,000 grams, goes off food. And probably in the wild, let's face it, she probably won't reach that 1,000 gram mark until maybe 2 years of age, or a year and a half of age. So what's coming first? Is she hitting that 1,000 gram mark and sort of looking at her fat reserves and going, I've got enough food, I don't need to eat no more, but I need to breed? Or is she thinking, I'm a year old, or a year of old, and maybe that's their puberty thing, or their sexual change, and are they then looking for a male? So again, I'm still collecting data. It's a theory I have. It's worked for me. 50% of the females that I bred at that, let's say that 1,000 gram wall, which is probably about 4 or 5, have gone on to lay eggs, no problems. But more data needs to be collected. Okay, we need to establish, is this the facts? Is this really what's happening, before I actually go out there on a whim and on a limb and say, this is what I believe is happening and this is what works for me. So, going back to your original question, Jasmine, it could be that they're ready to breed. That could be the case, but if there's anything else, just DM me and I'll try and obviously get to the finer details on that. Right, let's just have a look, see if we've got any more questions so far. 2 males, 1 female. Oh, right, okay, yeah. Malcolm's been helping with that question. Malcolm, believe it or not, Malcolm Crab on here, believe it or not, goes way back. I remember Malcolm on RFUK days. That's how long Malcolm's been around on the scene. Reptile Wave. Oh, okay, Reptile Wave. Good evening. All right, Matt. Okay. Okay, yearly subscription. Is there a yearly subscription for Husbandry Pro, Gav? So there's a few different levels on Husbandry Pro, which is good because again you can go in at whatever level you want. Obviously certain levels give you different access. The way I look at it is, if, like for example, my membership on Morph Market, a sale of a snake will help me pay and support Morph Market, and will also give me that membership. The same with Husbandry Pro. The way I look at it is, if it's going to cost X amount of year, it's a sale of 1 snake. Now, I'm not saying to all newbies and first timers get into Husbandry Pro. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, it can be as in depth as you want it, or as simple as you want it. And what I find is, you can't beat pen and paper. Even now, with my job, my work, the business that I run, I still use pen and paper. I should go to Google Calendar, but I still use pen and paper because I just find it easy. And let's face it, I'm old school, but I do like the whole idea of Husbandry Pro. You can integrate all your frozen food in there, so when you're feeding, it will give you what you've got left in your freezer without you going and counting it. So in other words, if you want to put an order into Boss Rat, yeah, shameless plug. If you want to go and give send your order over to Boss Rat for frozen food, you can look on Husbandry Pro and see how many frozen you've got left in the freezer. It's that sort of thing which, you know, some people just think, well, I'll just go and check my freezer, that's fine. It's not for everyone, but I think it's really going to be a fantastic tool moving forward. And I'm not just saying it, I have using it, you know, and I will give my verdicts as we go, as I'm using it over the next few months. Is there a year subscription? I've done that. Billy got it going amazing now in his new place. Yeah, Billy's he's got it smashing it out. I just spoke to Billy this afternoon about it. Obviously, you know, Billy's not going to do something, you know, he's got a massive collection. He's not going to do something which is going to take a shed load of time if it's not going to help his business, because he's running a business at the end of the day. It's not like a hobby business like we have. So yeah, it's interesting to see moving forward how it's going to work, but it's just something, like I said, I'm liking it, and we'll see. That's what we can do. So next year, I'll hopefully be using an app like Husbandry Pro. No, so yeah. Right, let's just have a look. One of the snakes has stopped eating 6 weeks ago. Took a meal tonight. Panic over. Fantastic. Right, okay, there's quite a few people asking a few questions. So, right, okay. As of now, start dropping your questions in the comment box, guys. I know a few people have put some questions, but there's so many people who are mentioning stuff, I'm missing a few questions. So, Stinger B to lesser, do the NG or the lesser babies get the spider problems? Stinger B to lesser, do the NG or the lesser babies get the spider problems? No, not normally, and there's not all spiders have wobbles. If yours has got a wobble, then it stands a chance of passing it on. I've got spiders and hidden gene womas that don't have a wobble, that don't produce babies that have wobble. So it's one of them. It's yeah, a lot of people try, and again we only see the bad stuff, but I've got hidden gene womas and spiders which are spot on. The babies are all spot on. In fact, they're that spot on they'll take your head off if you're not careful. But talking about a head wobble, you can produce babies, like I've produced a pastel or two in the past that had a head wobble. No spider involved, no other lethal combo involved, but I produced a pastel that had a head wobble. And what can also happen is, what I find is when you keep animals at such a high temperature, it can induce head wobbles. It's starving the brain or they're getting dehydrated, and the brain's creating this real sort of funky effect. So if you're keeping your animals too warm, it can create a neurological issue. And we've seen that time and time again. When animals have overheated, it creates a neurological issue. And sometimes the opposite way, you know, when they're kept close to freezing, you know, when they're sort of ice cold in the fact that they look almost dead, they come back to life, and sometimes they can have a neurological issue there, but they can overcome that neurological issue. But again, we'll see. But no, you won't get any issues. You shouldn't get any issues, let's say. So, right, going back to questions. green ball pythons are you producing this year? I have a few on, I've seen a few on your video. Green ones are hard to find. Green ball pythons. Hypo is a good one. As an adult, they tend to go that greeny sort of ghostly colour, which is awesome. I presume you're on about the hypos. But yeah, I've been working with hypo this season. I love hypo. Got some fantastic stuff coming through. Where I'm taking my hypo projects, not only regarding double recessive, but I want to keep it separate from Desert Ghost, and I also want to keep it separate from Ultramel. With the hypos, what I'm doing with hypos is I'm working on cleaning hypo up. I use Orange Ghost. I'm using stuff like the Frost gene, which if you don't know what the Frost gene is, I've talked about that before. It's a new gene that's sort of come from Germany. My good friend Michael over at Excite Ball Pythons. That's really, you know, that makes, it's almost like a Desert Ghost style look to the hypo. So I'm breeding, I've got Pastel and Orange Dream being bred into the Frost hypo combos, so we're going to make some beautiful hypo combos this season, that's for sure. Good evening. I'm new to the hobby. I have 6 balls that are CB20s. They were all fed on mice until 3 weeks ago, and then I changed them to rats. All except one. Love them. What shall I do with the odd one? Okay, Sean, there's a couple of options. You can try ASFs or multis, depending on where you are in the world. But ASFs is something that's, I believe, everyone's talking about this Da Vinci supplement that they're giving their animals. And listen, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying that I'm a believer that if we feed the correct diet to our animals, maybe we wouldn't need that. So in the wild, ball pythons don't eat the style of rat that we offer them, and they don't really eat, and that's why they like the mice, because there's more mice species that they would normally eat as opposed to a rat species. Now I know we call them African soft-furred rats, but in actual fact they're more like a gerbil style animal and a mouse than they are a rat. They would eat African soft-furred rats in the wild as well with gerbils, but I advise not starting your snake off on gerbils. If anything, I would try and get them onto ASFs or multis if you can, if you have them available. Some states in America, I know they're illegal, but if you can feed your snakes on ASFs, I believe it's the way forward. I've got years of data of feeding on ASFs. Even my hatchlings that I sell are fed on ASFs because I want them to have the best start. So ASFs or multis, I feel, are key to healthy ball pythons moving forward. That's my thought. That's what I'm seeing. What else have we got? Thank you for all your videos, mates. Help me a lot with the knowledge. You know, I can take it all in and use it myself. And big thanks from Marley in the West Sussex, UK. Thanks for your support, my friend. And listen, all my videos, you know, I love getting people to subscribe to the channel. Don't get me wrong. I love people hitting that notification bell because I want to reach out to you guys and try and help you. Everything that I try and put out and everything that I discuss here with you, and especially on the Patreon, is all about helping you guys progress in your hobby, in something you love. I don't know it all. I'm just giving you the data that I find from my collection when I feed ASFs, when I work with a particular substrate, when I work with a particular rack. You know, it's all my findings. You know, if something's good, I'll say it's good. If it's okay, I'll say it's okay. If it's rubbish, you won't see me using it. But it's all my years and years of data that I'm putting to one place for you guys to work with and give you some ideas of, you know, what will work and what may not work. You've got to take everything and try it, and if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, then drop it, you know. I always try and help people as much as possible, and that's just the way I am. I had a stinger bee bred to a pinstripe wobbles babies. I've moved all my ball pythons 4 months ago, and since then a lot of them have stopped eating. They are in a room with a window but with very low ventilation. Do you think that the lack of fresh air is the problem? So I know you said you've moved all your ball pythons, Bruno, but have you moved them into a new rack? And certainly moving them into a room, into a different room, like the air pressure, the airflow can affect them, the new smell, all that sort of stuff. My advice, and this is something that I see a lot of breeders on Instagram or YouTube, and their tubs are immaculate. Their snake tubs are immaculate, and I think to myself, that's BS. It's BS, and the reason for this is this: the minute you clean a snake, get rid of all the shed, all the poo. Literally, no word of a lie, the next day they'll go in there and they will crap in the corner. And the reason for that is because that's them scenting their own tub. Now, if you can think of it like this: if you go in there and change all their substrate and put fresh substrate in, it's kind of, and then you've put them into a new room, okay? It's kind of, they're looking at this thinking, well, this is new, I'm not sure about this. And this is where also a lot of people struggle with feeding, because when they don't know, or they don't trust you, or they're not, and we talk about getting acclimatized to your collection, and when they don't know you, they're nervous animals and they may not feed, okay? Your job as a keeper, because I'm a keeper first, I'm a breeder second. I keep these animals, I love these animals. The fact that I can breed them is fantastic. You've got to, and as a keeper, you've got to learn the species. So one subtle change can throw them off. So when you go in there and you spot clean, like I did the video and I showed everyone the new equipment that I've got to the HQ, the new Hoover, literally no word of a lie, the next day I went in there, at least 5 to 8 females, 5 to 8 females had gone and crapped in the corner. Because I went in there the next day to the waters, because on the video I said I'm not going to do the waters today, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I went in there the next day to do the waters, and sure enough, about 5 to 8 females had gone and crapped in the corner. And I was like, man, what's all this about? What they will do, they will scent and empty their bowels, if you like, while scenting, because it's probably an urge, I don't know, and they will end up crapping in the corner. But what I don't do, I don't clean out the urates, and if there's little bits of shed, I'll leave that in there. Obviously the big clumps of poo I take out. And what can happen, like I said, going back, and I see all these breeders and they're saying, oh, look how clean, you know, yeah, that's after this, you know, I haven't cleaned this in a week. It's BS. I keep snakes, I keep them on Reptile, and I know after a week how they look, and it certainly ain't like that. So they're obviously going in there every day, or it's done for the video purposes, let's say. But changing their substrate or changing their environment can really throw them off. Don't be in a rush to deep clean or clean them too much. Just, you know, keep them used to their environment. Also, if you're buying animals from another breeder, and let's say that breeder keeps them on Reptile or they keep them on paper, try and simulate how that keeper keeps them during quarantine so you can get them feeding. Once you get them feeding, they'll get used to your routine, and then they'll switch to how you do things. So then when you do move them into your collection, your routine is key. So when you move them into your collection, you'll be able to put them on the substrate that you wish, and they should pretty much acclimate into your collection. So just think, it's not straightforward. And a lot of people say it's easy to breed ball pythons. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It's not that easy. There's a lot to consider and there's a lot to take in. The best thing you can do is pay attention to your animals. Your animals will tell you what they want. If they want to breed, they'll tell you. If they want to feed, they'll tell you. And that's something that's important. Looking at your females or your males or your animals and knowing how they're going to react and knowing what they want. That's what's going to make you successful. I know I went off a little bit on that, but I hope you get the point. So check out your conditions, make sure, try and replicate where they were. It may take a while for them to settle in, but if it's been 4 months since you've changed it, there's no reason why they shouldn't have settled in by now. But you want to be looking at, there's probably only one thing that you've done, and I know you've moved them rooms, but what I'm saying is there's probably something else, something very small that you've done, maybe upgraded their tub size, maybe taken a hideaway, maybe, there's something you've done which has thrown them off. Look into that. You'll find it. Just look into it. So what else we got? Open the window. Yeah. You still have handle during breeding. Can you still handle ball pythons during breeding season? I'm thinking of breeding my 2 females, but these are pets and are handled by the family daily. Gary, good question. You can handle ball pythons, but if you can imagine, if you've got a gravid female that's got eggs inside her, you're not going to want to hold her, in a particular manner that you're going to hold the tail and then hold her head, because she'll have all her eggs all sort of bulging in the belly. If you are going to hold her or hold them, then yes, cradle them, hold them, support their whole body, but try not to hold them too much, because what they're actually doing is they're trying to keep at a certain temperature for those eggs to develop, or their follicles to develop, depending on what stage they're at. So yes, you can handle them. My advice is not to handle them. Handle them as little as possible, because they're going to want to stay or find the right temperature. If you get them out and they cool down, it's going to cause problems. If you get them out and you're holding them and they're getting because they're using their thermoregulation and collecting your body heat or absorbing your body heat, then obviously it's going to create them to overheat, and you're going to have a lot of slugs. So you can handle them. I wouldn't handle them. My advice, if you want a good viable clutch, don't handle them. That's my advice. Right, what else have we got? What else have we got? Oh, loads of questions. Agree with him. Patreon has a great group of people. Yeah, listen, I'm not saying it. The Patreon community, the Balls to You community Discord, is like the old school forum days where you just got like-minded people coming together, geeking over snakes, geeking over their projects, and just supporting and helping each other, which is fantastic. So yeah, I recommend the Patreon Discord page, is great. Elite Exotics BP, it's my 3rd year in the hobby, absolutely love it. Congratulations, mate, many more to come. Did I miss the Aurora gene talk, Elliot? So I did post a video on the Aurora, and while you brought up the Aurora, let's talk about the Aurora. The Aurora is a fantastic project. I'm really excited for it, and Tony, the founder, Tony Hersey, he's the person that's got the project. He's not the founder. He's the person that's got the project at the minute. We're really excited to see what's going to happen. There's a few people in the UK that have got it. There is a super form, which is awesome, and we're looking forward to getting into some recessives. So the Aurora is definitely one to watch. I think over the years, we used to pay attention to a lot of the heavier patterned animals, or the heavier colour changing pattern snakes. Now we're looking at the subtle genes, and we're looking how the subtle genes react with other genes. So what's great is something like an Aurora that's quite subtle. You can put it in with another gene, and it will explode. So the Aurora project is definitely something to look out for. And like I said, just keep an eye open on that. I did do a video on that a couple of weeks back now. Gavin, I may have been in this game 35 years, but I'm still learning stuff. So this is Malcolm, from guys like you, Paul at Urban Constrictors, and Scott Wilkins. Keep up the great content. Yeah, thanks, Malcolm. And listen, I don't think there's ever a point that you're willing to learn. You know it all. Sorry, and it's time to stop. Learning for me is what I live for. I love absorbing information, especially when it comes down to the ball pythons, and learning people's techniques and seeing what works for them, and seeing if I can implement it into what I do. I'm a real advocate that I monitor and look at my collection, and I pay attention to what they want and how they're acting, and I think that's the key. But we're always learning, and I think it's fantastic that we do learn and we keep learning, because it's only going to give us, more in depth, a better insight into how these beautiful animals live, and how we can work them in the wild, in captivity. So you're breeding at all. So what else have we got? Questions. Thank you so much for your incubator build video. I'm in the process of building mine now. If it helps, that's, like I said, that's what I'm here for, to help people. Hello Gav, do you still pair even when your female is deep in shed? No, that's a great question from Marvellous Balls. Dan, do I still pair even when they're in shed? No. Very, very rarely will they lock. So when they're in shed, I tend not to bother. If they're in shed, I just leave them, let them do the thing. And then what I find as well, the other thing, going back, you can, when they come out of shed, they tend to be hungry. So if you've got breeder males that are in shed, wait for them to come out of shed, offer them some food. If they take food, fantastic. If not, then obviously you can carry on doing your breeding schedule. But I would always try and feed after breeding. John Williams, can you please go to my question? Sorry, John, let me have a quick look. I might have missed that. Let me just have a look. John Williams, can you please go back to my question? Thanks. Sorry, John. I'm looking now for John's question. Where are you? John Williams, can you please go back to my question? I'm going... Ooh, definitely missed your question, John. Definitely missed your question. No, John, I can't find your question, mate. No, sorry, John. I've lost it. Can you just put it back in the comment box below, mate? Do you still feel that some of the old base morphs like Lesser Pastel, Enchi, Mojave, etc. still have a place these days with multi-gene combos? Yes, 100%. If that was the case, you know, if they definitely, they were the building blocks, I feel, for our, you know, back in the days we'd be making lessers, or we'd be making pastels or enchies. You know, we've got to remember that, you know, these are the building blocks for our projects. So I think they still have a place, whether they've kind of hit that sort of average playing field, but yeah, I still feel they've got a place, and especially something like pastel. A lot of people will sort of not hate on pastel, but they'll try and, you know, bring it down and say, oh, it browns out, oh, it does this, it does that. It doesn't always brown out. If you've got the right line and you're working with the right combo, you need pastel. Desert Ghost and pastel was made for each other. You know, you can't, you know, there's certain genes that work phenomenally well with each other, and you'll never lose them. I mean, look at the GHI and Mojave combo. You know, it's fantastic. Even the GHI and the lesser works really well. In fact, the pastel and the GHI was the first combo to actually hatch out over at Matt's place. Matt, what was his last name now? It'll come to me. But the guy who founded the GHI picked it out of strictly reptiles, picked them out, and he was away, and the first thing that hatched out was a pastel GHI. So for me, they've always got a place, and in a very important place. John, did you post your question again, mate? I can't see it. Yeah, so Billy swears by having pastel in his asphalt stuff. Yeah, you know, freeways look awesome. Pastel freeways look amazing. You know, pastel enchi freeways look beautiful. So yeah, I still think there's you know, there's yeah, we can't just, yeah. She's similar to yellow belly, saddling side, but reacts well with other genes. Yeah, consider the Aurora to be similar. Is it similar? I would say, if anything, it's more like an asphalt gene, the Aurora. And what I mean by that is the way it reacts and the way it works. The male I've got is a Super Aurora yellow belly spot nose, and you can certainly see the yellow belly. You can see the Super Aurora, and you can certainly see the spot nose. It's like it's a subtle gene, but I think it's really, really awesome. Matt Lear was the guy who founded the GHI, and the first one that hatched was a pastel GHI. I told you it comes to me. So I can't find John's question still. I'm still looking for John's question. Sorry, John. John Williams, good evening, sir. I have a female. Here we go. Good evening, sir. I have a female I've bred for the last 3 years, and she's reabsorbed her follicles every time. Changed temperatures and male, and still won't go. What do you think? Thanks, Gav. So, John, first thing, what are you feeding? Are you feeding rodents or rodents? Are you feeding rats or African soft-furred rats? That's one thing I'd ask. Second thing is, when are you putting your males in? Are you putting them in every month or every 2 months? What's your male going into your female schedule look like? So yeah, that's important. Follicles every time. Also, what is the female? Is she a particular morph? Because I do know some females out there, particular morph females, don't go on to breed or don't breed. So what morphs? So she's on rats. Okay, first thing I would try, if you can, try ASFs. I will guarantee, listen, my breeding success is around about 90 to 93%. Okay, that means the females that I have paired have gone on to lay eggs. Okay, over the years, it's a 90 to 93% success rate. My slug ratio is virtually 5%. Okay, my eggs per clutch, so on average, eggs per clutch is 8.1. Obviously, I know there's a 0.1, but it's 8.1 eggs per clutch. You cannot tell me I'm doing something wrong, and I'm a massive advocate on food. Yes, temperatures play a key, and that's something else that we can get into on another live maybe. But trust me, Maltese or African soft-furred rats are key. I don't need supplements. It's very rare I have an animal die after laying eggs. Last year I had one female die, fact. And those on my Patreon know that. It's very rare, and there is no reason why she died. That's the other thing. So she took one meal and then she just went belly up. So she wasn't that old. She was a pastel yellow belly, so it wasn't like a particular gene or a morph which created that. It happens. And also, what I will tell you, you will lose males in breeding season and potentially females. However, what I believe is if you are feeding the right diet, okay, which they would normally eat in the wild, it would eliminate a lot of problems out there. So feeding Maltese is a massive key for me to success. If people don't want to feed Maltese, that's fine, you haven't got to, but I'm just telling you, over the years I've fed Maltese, I've come away from rats, and it's just been success after success after success. Touch wood, this year will be the same, but like I said, you know, it's one of them things you need to look at. There's going to be variance. We know you're feeding the rats, but you want to be looking at, I have Jade had 5 plus lock, no. So you need to be fine. If she's reabsorbed when you're putting the male in, so in other words, I normally say to people, you want to be putting that male in once a month, okay? Some people go on shed cycles, you know, after they've shed they put a male in, which a female will shed depending on how well she's being fed. So I still stick to that once a month, because they tend to grow follicles anywhere from 5 millimeters up to 10 millimeters within a month. Okay, if they've got to get up to 40 millimeters to go into ovulation, then you're talking, if they're growing at 10 millimeters a month, that's 4 months. If they're growing at 5 millimeters, that's going to take 8 months. So what I would tend to find is, like I said, depends on how fast your female is growing follicles, but I would definitely stick to once a month, putting your male in, and also making sure that you're not getting a dry lock with that male. So maybe try a different male if you haven't already. But there's a number of factors, and what I would do, John, is wherever you live, whether it be in the UK, Europe, wherever you are in the world, try and find a breeder that's successful in breeding and try and replicate their formula. So if you're in the UK, try and find someone in the UK that can replicate their breeding. If you're in the US, try and find someone in your state, not someone in Texas and then you in New York, nothing like that. Try and find someone in your state and try and replicate the breeding process. I'll guarantee you, you know, it will definitely help and will help you guys move forward if you just concentrate on your efforts regarding making sure that you work with your animals wherever you're from, whether it be the UK, US, wherever. Just try and find a breeder in that area that you can try and replicate that's having good success, because obviously that'll obviously help you. What are your thoughts on his opinion? Well, Gavin. You had Travis Warner's view on the fire gene. He says it acts more like a pie gene. What are your thoughts? Travis is a very wise guy. Yeah, I'm not sure when he's. I don't know. I don't believe the fire is like a pie gene. Maybe the way it reacts, and you got to understand. Travis knows how things work on an allele, on an atom, on a process, on a protein level, which is something that I can't really get it. But for me, what I would do personally is I would look at a particular gene like fire. It's a black-eyed leucistic, and look at it for what it is, which is a leucistic. Now, I'm going to put another spin on things. And what if, let's say, every gene that we know isn't actually a co-dominant or a dominant gene? What if it's all recessive? So in other words, you've got a pastel. That's not really a pastel, that's het for the super pastel, if that makes sense. The difference is the pastel, its single gene is its visual het markers. So when we start thinking about things, it can really blow our mind regarding what can go off, and we're looking at something and we're going, that's crazy. When we could be looking at pastel and thinking that it's really recessive. But it's just a recessive with markers. So it blows your mind when you think a bit too much. I think it can get really complicated. We've got the ball python project in the house. Good evening. What other questions did we have? What's the Joe, what is popular in your country? Pastel, highway, pied banana combos popular in Japan. We like working with a lot of things, Joe. We have all sorts of projects, and the good thing about it is we have highways, pieds, bananas, all variations over here that we love working with. Check out my Instagram, check out a lot of people in the UK's Instagram, you'll see. We work with a lot of things, but thanks for joining in, thanks for the question. What else have we got? Yes, incomplete dominant is Travis likes to refer to it. Yes, he does. And listen, we could call the super form. So let's say pastel. So we've got pastel and we've got super pastel. We could say a pastel is a dominant form because anything it breeds, everything's going to be pastel. Okay? And then we've got the pastel, which is an incomplete dominant. We call them co-dominants because it's what we've called them for years and years and years. And yes, we should really call them incomplete dominants, and the supers should be called dominant. But it's going to take a few years for that to turn around. But who knows, in 10 years we may be calling them recessives. So it's really something that can blow your mind. And let's try not to muddy the waters, let's say. As long as we all know what something's called or what we're working with, that's the key. So as long as we are all calling the one thing exactly the same, that's the key. Thanks for the info, Gav. I'm going to keep researching, but we'll definitely make sure handling is down to a minimum while they are breeding season. Love all the helpful advice on your videos. Good luck, Gary. Keep me posted, my friend, and good luck if you do decide to breed them. I'm new to the hobby and keen on attending some shows when safe again. Would you recommend any? And if in your opinion, what would you go to start? What's your go-to start snakes? So it depends where you are in the world, Dan. If you're obviously in the UK, the Doncaster show is happening on the 27th of June. So yeah, Doncaster is always good. Again, if you're over in the States, there's loads of shows. There's plenty of local shows going on. Go to starter snakes. It depends what you want to work with. I would go to somewhere where you can get to see a lot of snakes find a handful that you like the look of, do your research, and then learn what species will suit your situation and what you want to work with. MJ Designs, I think your merchandise manager may need to accompany you to any shows. Yes, Andy will be coming, no doubt, bless him. Gavin, thanks for the knowledge, love it, you're welcome. So what else have we got? Same here, Doncaster is apparently really good one to go to. Yeah, the one thing I will say to all the new people going to the shows is be mindful. It can be a massive, what's the word? Like kid in a sweet shop. Yeah. You can go to a reptile show and just look at so many things and you end up buying stuff and you just go nuts. Be mindful. If you're going to a reptile show and you're going with a friend and that friend isn't working with your projects and you're not working with their projects, try and help each other to stay on track, because too many times I've seen people leave reptile shows with more stuff than what they actually wanted. You know, a couple of my friends have come to my table and gone, look Gav, look, I've got this, or I've got this frog, look, or I've got this lizard. Just be mindful what you're getting. You know, like I said, kid in a sweet shop, it's absolutely awesome. You know, just enjoy yourself, take it all in, have a walk around. And another advice I would give, if you go to a table and you see a snake and you think, do I want it or don't I? My advice would be, go away, have a think about it, research the breeder, research the combo, and research the price tag. If it's too cheap, there's probably a reason for that. If you go away and have a think about it and do your research very quickly, you can jump on any social media platform, research that breeder if you don't know that breeder. Talk to that breeder, get a feeling for that breeder. But also, if you come back and that animal has gone, then you've got to think it wasn't meant to be. Okay, so don't get eaten up if you come back and that animal's gone. It just wasn't meant to be. Okay, so what's meant to be is meant to be. I'm a massive believer in that. I take it that you're aiming. At me, Gav. It's not a condition I can. I'm not aiming it at you, Dan. I'm just saying, just be mindful. And yeah, I suppose I am aiming it at you, Dan. Yeah, because I know you'll get excited, mate. Do you have stewards that can accompany us and allow us not to buy things live? Because right now I wouldn't. Yeah, we all need that special friend next to us who can say, you know, whisper in our ear, don't buy that, you don't need that. So yeah, right, let's just check the time. Okay. Right, so we're currently coming up to an hour. So I'm going to try and wrap it up now. Few last questions. Reptile Royals, hi Gavin, what's your plans have you got for HIOD this year? Hopefully some amazing stuff. Stay tuned. Everything I put on will be obviously all over YouTube. I'll put it all on there. But yeah, got lots of stuff going on regarding the high intensity line of Orange Dream and normal Orange Dream. Love that. Love Orange Dream. Absolutely awesome. Hellboy will be doing his work this season. So yeah, looking forward to that. Okay, right. I want to wrap this up, guys, because I've enjoyed this. I think an hour is long enough for anyone. I want to thank you all for joining in, and if there's any questions I missed, I do apologise. By all means, send me a DM and I'll try and answer you as best as I can. Thoughts on the market now we've left the EU, please, mate? Good or bad? Okay, one last question then. Thoughts on the EU. So I believe the UK market's going to be a lot stronger. And the reason for that is because we're not going to be able to export very easily. So I think the UK market's going to be a lot a lot stronger, and it's going to be, I believe, a better place. It's going to be harder to import export animals, but I think it's going to be a better place. Great live, keep an eye on lovely night. Yeah, you too, mate. Thanks for joining in, DJ. Gavin, why are you dropping Reptiscan? I'm not dropping Reptiscan, Malcolm. I'm using Reptiscan alongside her Husbandry Pro. I'm still using Reptiscan now, but if I can use a platform, and what I've noticed recently with Reptile Scan is they've done an update, and when I spoke to Jesper about this, another developer has taken over, so Jesper only owns 50%. Now I like the way it worked before. Since the new systems kicked in, I'm having a lot of bugs, a lot of issues. It's taking longer to load up, it's freezing, it's not taking the information in, so there's quite a few bugs, but they'll get sorted. But I'm still keeping Reptiscan. I'm using Reptiscan this breeding season, and I'm using her Husbandry Pro. And the only way really I can say which one I'm going to prefer, which one I'm going to use moving forward, is to use the both. But so far I am really loving what Husbandry Pro is offering. And remember, it's still in that development stage, so it's still exciting times and we can work on it. Right then. Do you look Malcolm, did you look at Reptile? I haven't looked at Reptile, but I have looked at the other one. I forget what it's called now. It could have been a Reptile Buddy or something, or Buddy Reptile, or Reptile Buddy. Anyway, one of the two. I haven't looked at Reptile, but I'll certainly have a look. I'm always looking, you know, I like, as long as it's going to make my life easier. Yeah, I'll have a look at that, Malcolm, and I'll probably we'll do another live and we'll discuss that one. So yeah, where do you do your posts? Where do you post your snakes for sale? So all my snakes are on Morph Market, as you can see up above on the screen there. You've got the Morph Market. I post everything on Morph Market, or if you guys see something on a video, drop me a question and about that particular animal, and I can let you know if it's available. So, right guys, I hope you're all well. Hope you've enjoyed this live. I've enjoyed it. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for everyone for joining in. Again, it's great to see you all. More videos to come. Got loads more to do. But yeah, really appreciate everything you guys are doing. And as ever, we've got Mutation Creations just joined us just as we're leaving. Thanks for joining us, Billy. But listen, hope you're all well. Thanks for joining in. Love and respect you all. And remember, guys, you know, just keep doing what you're doing. Stay safe. Look after each other. And obviously, just keep doing what you're doing. Follow your dreams. Follow your path. And thanks again for all your support. Okay? Take care. And I'll see you guys in the next one.